right. He went on the trip that he only once a year. I'm going to start this meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to welcome everyone, and Mr. Keen is on the job. Audience introductions.
Brandy Bordeaux, Peru taxpayer, RSU56 employee, and mother.
Ryan Bordeaux, Peru resident.
Gina Clucci, director of nutrition.
Charlie Swan, principal of DES. Jay Nicholson, bus driver.
Jason Long, principal of the middle school, curriculum director for curriculum coordinator for the district.
Sarah Thurston. I teach at the middle school, and I also have students in the elementary school and the high school.
Sarah Johnson, classroom teacher at DES.
Andrea Palmer, classroom teacher, DES.
Olaf Johnson, speech and debate coach and math teacher here at DHS.
Erin Pelletier, co-coach for speech and debate, and I'm also a long-term sub at DHS.
Sunny Pelletier, sophomore at Dirigo High School.
Liliana Salvati, senior at Dirigo High School.
Welcome, everyone. All right, we have some adjustments to the agenda, and we are going to add, I'm going to add to do the student rep report after we do the adjustments to move things along. And I'm going to add a vote on the social studies textbook because the curriculum has finished their work and we need to get going on that. So could I have a motion?
Can I just note, please,
What?
that I inadvertently put the athletic director
Oh.
job description, but it's the assistant to the athletic director job description.
Which is a stipend. Yes, I forgot. There's job descriptions. And we have an executive session at 7:15. So could I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the textbook for social studies, U.S. history, and add that to the agenda tonight.
Okay, and the others, everything else too, right?
Huh?
Everything else, we gotta have a whole list.
The whole list.
Thank you. Gonna have a second, Dawn.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna, yeah, I heard her, I knew that. Roll call?
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
No.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Okay. Then since we changed, we're gonna do the student rep report right now.
Okay, so sports signups are happening and we'll get started within the next couple of weeks. So that includes baseball, softball, and tennis. I think that's it. Oh, and track, yep. Prom committee is meeting and prom's going to be May 4th at 49 Franklin. So save the date and more details will come out soon. And then we have a teacher workshop Friday and spring fling games Thursday, followed by a dance on Saturday. That's all I have.
I was gonna say somebody's car's going off, but it stopped. Okay. Thank you. The next is consideration of the minutes of the February 27th, 2024 board meeting. Could I have a motion, please? And a second?
Second.
Comments, questions, revisions? Seeing none, could I have a motion, please? Oh, we already do. Sorry. Roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes, sorry about that.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Abstain.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Okay. Public comment. This is the time the public can make a comment. We may have to get back to you. Is there anybody online? Okay, anybody here? Come up, Brandy.
Here. The board and everybody in this room has decided that we have a problem in our bathrooms. We have spent $15,000 at the high school. I assume we're spending that at the middle school. So $30,000 to put in the vape sensors. My single-use bathrooms would help that. This means one person goes into the bathroom, the sensor goes off, they exit, the camera sees them, you know who did it. There is no genders sharing. It is safe. There are many people that believe this. They don't come and speak. They care more about what people think about them than me, I guess. I don't know. Maybe a survey might help. We've done that before. This last incident, there was a no contact order put in place. I don't want to see this happen to any more kids. Can we please talk about this? Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, we do not get the information what happens in the schools. That's between what happens with a student is confidential. No, I'm not gonna, you're finished. But the only thing is you're asking for is budgeting money to do this, and we are working on the budget right now. All right. Communications.
I have no new communications. The board did receive a couple of letters concerning the policy IJJ that I forwarded to you, but that's the
Yes.
only communication that we have.
We've already moved forward. Well, please come up and speak.
My wife's been here several times to bring up issues. Nobody's really responded. Jason Long is doing a great job at the middle school. But I'd also like to know what's going to happen at the high school next year. My daughter's going to be there. Is she going to be playing on sports teams with boys? Apparently that's allowed. Are the boys going to be in the locker room with my daughter, changing, getting ready for games, practicing? I'd like an answer to that too.
The answer is number one, administrators do what we direct them. Number two, we follow federal and state laws. We are not
Even
going
at the
to,
detriment of the students?
we
I
always
can't believe
keep
I
the
have to stand up
safety.
here and explain to grown adults why it's not right to have boys and girls in
We
the
know
same
that.
bathroom.
I'm not going to
naked.
engage. Thank you. You done communications? Old business. Are you gonna, is Bruce here or? What's today? So we haven't heard. All right, strategic planning.
There will not be an update until our next meeting, which is March 18th at 5:30 at the Darragh High School Library.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm going out of order.
You are not going out of order. Remember, you changed the order.
No, I know, I made sure I switched. I'm trying to figure out, is that? No. It's new business. Oh, they're after new business, not after old business. See, I thought it was after old business. All right, new business. I thought it was. Oh, who's up? Brian, you're up.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to talk about the technology budget for next school year. I'll start off with going through my summary memo and then get to my other 2 pages afterwards. To start off, our tech department has 4 specific goals. Improving parent community involvement with our students' education and happenings in the district through the use of our multiple digital platforms. Continuing to improve students' access to online educational programming, assessments, and other content through our high-speed data network. And increasing the effectiveness, quality, and reliability of our equipment that teaching staff are using in their classrooms every day, and providing high-quality PD opportunities to our staff members. Our 4th goal, continue to provide quality one-to-one devices for our staff and students in grades pre-K through 12. So our budget is broken down into a couple different pieces. Our main budget is broken down in our pre-K to 12, covers materials and support staff for providing services to multiple departments and students across the district. Monies for equipment, software maintenance, license agreements, repairs, maintenance, internet service, and then salaries and benefits to our staff. One of our main software components and contracts is with PowerSchool. Over the last 16 years, our 3 schools in the district have used PowerSchool's SIS to house all of our student data, and are going forward with our budget for next year. We do include a small amount from PowerSchool. Luckily, the state is covering the majority of our SIS cost again this coming year. So that was something that was an unknown when we first started doing some budget discussions, but it has come through now that they are planning on covering the majority of next year's SIS cost. The second piece is our cybersecurity and student data privacy. Our 24-25 budget includes continuing funding for cyber insurance, our internet security software, backup and restore software to protect our network from cyber attacks and other issues, as well as our membership to TEC, which is our student data privacy consortium. It's a legal team that helps us with our student data privacy agreements. We pay, I believe it's $1.10 or $1.20 per student to be part of that collaborative group. Budget also includes money working with a cybersecurity consultant to make sure that we're up to snuff with all the most recent cybersecurity laws and recommendations that are coming down to us through CISA. Staffing. The tech department covers current staffing covers a technology director, 2 IT support specialists, and our 3rd specialist is covered through ESSER through September of 24. Our device plan for this coming year, this year we'll be replacing our grade 8 MacBooks and swapping them over to iPads with keyboards. Cost and a few other factors are our main reasoning for swapping over. We have met or had few of our middle school staff members demo the iPads with keyboards, and all the feedback was really positive. So that was nice. We had a couple of questions on screen size, but other than that, the students and staff that tested them were really impressed. A lot more positive feedback than we had back when we looked at iPads the last time we merged 2016-17. And then we also are covering training funds for our staff in the 24-25 budget for staff development for RPD, as well as PowerSchool University seats. Any questions over the first part?
So we're going to give the 8th grade iPads.
Correct.
What does the 7th grade have?
Our plan is hopefully at our next admin meeting, when we discuss our COVID funding, we'll be able to do, my goal is next year to be iPads from grades K through 8.
K through 8.
But I have.
And you think there'll be a better success than they were because of damage and things? I know getting the keyboards is vital because they couldn't do anything. They still can't save anything. They got to do it.
No, they can now.
They can.
Yep. A lot of the changes through the latest couple of versions of the iOS software bring in a lot of options for saving. They work hand in hand with all the Google Suite apps that we use in our classrooms every day. So Google Docs, Google Drive, they'll be able to use all of those apps without any trouble. And the keyboards are probably the largest selling point.
So
In
are,
terms of damages, they're actually, right now, the iPads are a lot better for damage. They will take a lot more abuse than the laptops will.
okay.
The last round of the laptops, the design of the screen changed. You guys may notice on yours, the screens go all the way to the edge now, instead of having that little bit of bezel hardware around it. So anytime there's drops, or if the screen isn't shut perfectly, the laptop screens we've actually seen quite a bit of damage with.
So are you changing over because of?
Both cost and just management looking further into the future. The software right now on the iPads is very similar to the Mac OS software. And the way Apple is moving, they're becoming more and more the same as they move forward.
Tina, do you have a question? Oh, Bruce.
No, not right now. Did I hit something?
Bruce? Oh, can I go back, Brian? All right, finish, Bruce. He's gonna finish and then we'll get you.
Other questions for this before I move on?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how old are those computers that you're getting rid of for the 8th grade?
So those are going on their 4th year.
Is
So
that about a
it-
typical?
Usually I would keep them one more, but the problem is the way the state contract worked this round, or through MLTI 2.0 for the first two years of purchases. Their contract was worded so that you only had a 3-year warranty instead of a 4. However, the contract with the state requires a 4-year ownership. So it puts us at a pretty large expense of having all of the repairs having to come out of our local budget. So that's part of the reason we're swapping over as well. Going forward, MLTI has just released their next contract, and they couldn't get the vendors to change over to a 4-year warranty like it used to be. However, they have changed their enrollment or participation agreements to a 3-year contract. So now going forward, they will be in line. The contracts and the warranties will be set at 3 years.
That's good. Any other questions? Keep going.
Okay. All right. So the next thing I have is a new proposal. It is not necessarily a new position, but it is a new proposal because it is currently funded out of ESSER funding. Our DES IT support specialist is currently, for the last couple of years, has been paid out of ESSER money. So what my proposal is would be to bring that position into the regular budget for the next school year and hopefully continuing beyond that. It's an essential position for our department because we went from, before COVID, we were not completely one-to-one district-wide. When the COVID funding came into place, we went one-to-one across the district. The other additions we had, everything from phone systems coming to our management, whereas they were not before. We also brought in the last 18 months or so, we have 27 new touch panels coming into our classrooms, replacing older TVs. Luckily, those were all grant funded, so that was no local money for us. And then just the overall addition of having the remote support capabilities. Now we have remote school days. Not only are we supporting those we have in district, but we're supporting those out as well. Along with multiple different software additions and things like that we're not used to. Some goals and benefits to that for our department. A few of the major ones would be keeping a dedicated support position in each building. Before COVID, we had a shared position between the middle school and the high school, which I think Jason and Pam would both, I think, agree that it helps if there's an issue in the classroom, to have somebody on site versus waiting for the coverage person to be there. So that would be a big plus for us. The other thing, cybersecurity is an ever-changing thing right now. It doesn't matter how many emails I read from CISA or from the FBI saying, hey, this threat's coming to you, which I get those emails probably at least 10 a day. It's hard for me to keep up with that. It would help to have somebody that we can kind of work with and pass those things off to. If we don't keep that third person, that'll be very difficult, as the two existing will have a lot on their hands covering both of the existing current buildings. Um, and the rough cost on that, that Mary and I worked out was 71,210 to add that position into the budget. Questions?
Larry.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have 27 interactive panels and is going to bring regular maintenance tasks. Is that going to incur more money that you're going to request for that maintenance, or is that just an ongoing thing?
That primarily is just keeping up with the updates and things. The regular TVs that are in place currently, there really are no firmware updates for them, so it's not a matter of something, once they're in place, we don't really have to touch them unless there's an issue with them. The Promethean panels, because they have the interactive touch capability, along with a lot of other software preloaded on them, there's different updates that we have to go run on them, and stuff like that, where we would not have to on a normal
Just routine
device.
maintenance.
Yes, yep, just routine maintenance. Nothing, there would be nothing cost related unless it was, say, something broke or something like that. The normal, like month-to-month maintenance or whatever is primarily just updates. But it takes a lot more time to update than the regular TV related stuff would.
Thank you.
Keep going.
All right. So the next one is not necessarily a new budget item, but I did want to present it to you guys. So as you probably know, we have a technology reserve account that you've added money, the voters have added money to the last couple of years. So what we're planning on doing, every 5 to 7 years, we do a network refresh, which refreshes all of our network hardware and equipment that runs our wireless networks, our wired networks across the district, and everything to do with our internet connections. The last round we replaced, everything was 2019, I believe. Is that right, Mary? 19, I think. 18 or 19, and which we did it all through E-rate funding. So E-rate will reimburse up to 80% of the cost. So that's a federal grant process. So what our plan is to do, and Mary has contacted the attorney to see how to work it out in terms of the warrant articles for this. We're looking to take the approximation that we have so far. We haven't done all the paperwork yet for the quotes, but the first estimation is around 300,000 or up to 300,000 for the project. But our thought was to fund it out of the capital reserve program because capital expenses for technology, this is probably one of the largest ones we will have. The iPads and the devices now are more of a year-to-year replacement. A lot of people or a lot of districts are looking at them more like books and things like that. So they're more of a consumable. So they're on more of a regular refresh process, whereas our network, we've normally 5 to 7 year lifespan on those. As you'll see on the paper, we've had 5 of our core switches go down in the last year, which is very concerning. Luckily, they are all under warranty. The problem is their warranty and licensing runs out here at the end of June, beginning of July. So it is time to look at upgrading those, and the best thing we thought we could do was use as much of our E-rate funding as is available, and then use the capital reserve account to cover what is not E-rate eligible.
Go. Yeah.
400,000.
All right, 80% is reimbursed. So are we going to use our capital reserve and we get reimbursed for that, or?
So the draft article that we've looked at from the attorney at this point would be using up to X amount from the capital reserve account and then replacing up to X amount when we get the E-rate refund.
Meaning we would put it back in the reserve
Correct.
account.
Yep.
Okay.
So it would be using up to whatever the amount is and then being able to put back as much as we can when we get the E-rate refund. The hard part about E-rate is we may be approved, say we get approved for 200,000 out of E-rate funding. The problem is you don't really know you're going to get that 200 until you do all the paperwork, all the reimbursements are filed, and then the federal government looks at it and says either yes or no. If there's a little thing out of alignment, they may say, well, instead of 200, you're only getting 150. So that's why we get a little we're a little careful in terms of how much we plan on. It's kind of like main care almost to a point.
Brad?
Why is there an attorney involved?
Just for the drafting of the warrant article.
Oh, okay. I thought it was to get the money approved. That just
No,
seemed out.
nope,
Okay,
just
so-
to get the warrant article drafted.
We wanted to know legally if we could take it out and then put it back in the same warrant article. So we were asking for wording and whether that could be feasible.
Any other questions for Brian? So,
And I'll have a lot better idea of the actual number here before we do the warrant article stuff, but I had to use a ballpark figure because we were still drafting our E-rate bids and stuff, so it's all still in the bidding process right now.
all right, thank you.
Sure.
Now, is Bruce there?
I would say if you want to have Bruce do his report, and then I'm wondering if we do number 4.
Yep.
So that our other students do not have to wait.
Yes,
at the-
I will. Is he still there? Okay, Bruce, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, we met this first Wednesday of the month for Region 9's annual monthly board meeting. We basically went through, well, I'm going to read things off as I'm going here. We had one of our staff reports was done by adult director David Murphy. He did a presentation of what's going on with the adult ed program, what his budget was like. Then we continued on, went through a lot of the smaller articles that they reported out that our outdoor skills and leadership had a brochure that they're handing out to the board. They've got they went and attended the Hall of Flags. One of our members is a mom from Metal Trades, was highlighted in this article in Women in the CTE. So we're getting some little bit of notoriety in different articles and different things that we're doing. With our projects that we've got coming up, the welding building project, we had went out to bid. It got some bids that came in. They were opened up. There's a company called Benchmark. Is a company that's going to be building this welding lab for us. They came in at the lowest bid with all the specifications that we need to have done. And it allows us also so that we're able to fund and be able to put the lab and everything all together. So it's going to work out really well. It's going to be a big bonus for our welding program that we have there. It's booming right now, and it's amazing how many people are very interested in metal trades and welding. The other project that we've got going on up there is a culinary arts project, which was another one that was funded by this grant money. We're moving forward with that. We had a couple hiccups because we didn't do the correct procedure of getting, I guess they looked at it as the architect, we moved forward with it without the architect signing off on it. I don't know. There was a small technicality. So it's like anything. It puts a little, twinge into everything you're doing, but we're moving forward with it. It's just getting through, making sure you cross the T's and dot the I's. So this project is moving forward as well. And we're hoping to start breaking ground and getting this project done. The biggest thing that we've been working on, and I've been part of, is the finance committee. We've been working on the budget that we've been trying to present to the districts. What was going to be sending to the towns of how we're assessing everything. As you know, as well as I do, with certain cost factors involved, we don't have any controls over those. Our electricity has gone out of sight, as probably RSU56 has. Heating, oil, you name it. And again, we're all, as you as well with the board, is waiting to see what exactly is going to happen to our insurance. We again did the same thing, predicted and projected what we'd be paying for insurance. So all that said and done, going through everything that we did, we presented a draft. Again, this is a draft similar to what we do with 56. It's trying to propose what we've got out there. It is not the final numbers, but it's something that you need to get together to present to our constituents and also to be able to present to the public. Our basic increase ended up being around $56,000. That was with keeping all programs that we have going. Right now, all programs have got some very significant numbers going in all of them. We thought, well, we were waiting to see what, as we went through all the programs, to see where they were going to stand, what we were going to do. Right now, with our enrollment, we're at, again, if we, today, I believe was, or is it tomorrow, I believe Dirigo is sending their 10th and 11th graders. And the following week, we have another school that's sending theirs. Right now, we've got almost as many applicants. Again, it's applicants, not guaranteed they're going to come, but applicants as we do for students right now. And that's not counting with the Dirigo students coming tomorrow. Some have put in applications, but you're going to probably get some more beyond that, as well as the other school that's coming the following Wednesday. So our enrollment is just booming up there. We're getting a lot of kids that are interested in our programs and looking at thinking, you know, we're going to be able to trim the budget down. Well, right now we're waiting to see what all the numbers are going to do for us. But back to with what we're looking at is as with anything, all things are done with formulas, which I'm finding out with the formulas that we have, the way it's broken down with the formula to do funding, it's done with the amount of students, and then it also has to do with the enrollment assessment. Basically going through everything, we looked at what we had, and they look at, again, let's take anything, it's projected of what it was, you know, from previous years. And we've looked at that the 56 region, this past enrollment was 16.5 students more. I haven't figured out how anyone comes up with a half a student, but it works out that way. And then basically when you get done the formula and calculated everything into it, which still kind of is Greek to me, trying to figure out how these wonderful things work. But it basically came down to an increase to looking at for RSU 56 of a little over $14,000. So we've looked at trying, again, sending this out as a draft, trying to find out, is there other places to trim? Are there other places that we can reduce? That's what we're working on as our next step into everything. So the bad news is that, yes, there is an increase. The good news is that there's a lot of people and a lot of students that are interested in these programs. And to look at some of these programs, and if we want to say, well, gee, you know, what if we eliminated a program? Sometimes the way the formula works and the way the program works, if you eliminate a program, as sad as it and strange as it sounds, it costs RSU, it costs Region 9s more money than it is to run a program. I've been an advocate since I've been on this board that we're not going to run a program if you're going to have 2 or 3 students in it. We don't even have any of the programs that have that lower number. They're all pretty well. We've got some programs that we aren't even able to, telling students they need to go to the second or third choice. Also with our programs, what we're looking at is our culinary arts has just been booming. We've actually got to a point where we've sent in an application to break the culinary arts up into 2 programs. There's that many students that are involved into it. My theory is we may find that could end up happening to our welding program once we get going, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But all these things that we look at doing are all part of the way the formula and the calculations work. A lot of people think, gee, if you're going to add another program, is that going to cost more money? The answer to that is not necessarily. Sometimes it actually works out better to break things up. So where everything is in works of trying to keep things and keep the programs going, we're looking and evaluating every program all along the way, making sure that everything is going to be fitting and working well. Right now, we move forward, like I said, to we had a part of our meeting was to set the budget that we were looking at. We set our budget for the secondary ed, which is the Region 9's part of it. And then we also set a budget for our adult education. We also have set that we're having public hearings. They're going to be March 20th at 7:30 at Region 9. It's also at 6 o'clock if someone was up in the Bethel area. And then our regional budget meeting is going to be May 1st at 6 o'clock, and that will be at Region 9. So that's kind of a highlights of what we went through the whole thing. If anybody has any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Bruce.
I have one question.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead, Tina.
Just as far as electricity costs, I know they've gone up quite a bit. Have you guys investigated other suppliers through CMP to help cut costs there?
That I would have to bring up with Brenda, but I don't know if there's any other suppliers that we can deal with. I'd be a question I'd have to
Well,
ask.
CMP is the delivery company, but the actual supplier is different. There's a list on the main.gov website. You can actually go through and find the cheaper supplier. Just a suggestion.
Yeah,
that might
I'll
help
mention it
come
to
up.
her. Yep,
Okay.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
Thank you, Bruce.
You're welcome.
All right, we are going to, because we're gonna go in 10 minutes to executive. I'm gonna do so the students can go home. Do number 4, the request for overnight trips and fundraising. So you have something, it's for the speech and debate team. Mr. Johnson and team members.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to lower this.
And
Bear
you
with
look
me for a
very
second.
nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that your time is valuable and I respect that, but I wanted to start off by saying we did it again. This little school went up against Bangor, Cape Elizabeth, Falmouth, Poland, and every single one of our competitors either qualified or qualified as an alternate. Every single one of our member of our team, including our newly crowned student of the month.
Oh.
So we should all be very proud of that. That being said, yes, there are 2 different competitions that are occurring. One is in Des Moines, Iowa, and the other one is in Chicago, Illinois. We had crunched some numbers to look through, see what we could do. As it turns out, we can only really swing or justify swinging one of these trips. So we chose Chicago, Illinois, which will occur on the weekend, on Memorial Day weekend, in fact. We have money in the speech and debate budget and in the general fund, but we don't have enough to cover everything. We are about $1,600 short of this. So first off, we had 3 requests for you. The first being that we would like permission to take our students, Lily Savati, Daisy Sweat, and Sonny Pelletier, to the NCFL National Tournament in Chicago, Illinois, from May 24th to May 27th. Item 2 is we would like to use the appropriate funds from both the general fund for the speech and debate and the school speech and debate fund to pay for the trip and expenses. In part, in item 3, we would like permission to fundraise to come up with a shortfall.
Any questions for Ola? Go ahead, Brad.
It's going to sound a little odd, but Chicago's not the safest place in the world. Where you guys headed in Chicago and how you guys going to handle the safety?
We're actually staying at the Hilton in
Is it
Chicago.
downtown?
What's that?
Downtown.
I'm not sure exactly. It is down. Yes, it is downtown. The competition is in the same building or within 1 block of this. And the activities that we're looking to do here are all within walking distance. Millennium Park is there. So that being said, also the venue where this occurs is not open to the public. It is closed down and it is just competitors, coaches, and parents, chaperones.
Is it just you and your assistant going?
Yes, actually, we'll both be chaperones. The entire team is
Okay.
going to be going.
And how many is that?
There will be 3 students and 2
3
chaperones.
students? Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Joy.
That's, I had prepared for so many questions. That was one that we are.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Tina.
So with the funds that are in there now, you're short like 1,600, you said, right? With
That
the
is
funds that are
actually
the funds that are in there now, what are those generally used for outside of this particular trip?
Actually, they are set aside specifically for this trip.
We're so used to winning, Tina, that we prepare for speech and debate each year.
Yeah, because they for years. Instead of having them try to raise $3,000 to $4,000 within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, that makes sense. I just wasn't sure when you said you wanted to use those funds. I wasn't sure if those were appropriated for that to begin with. So that would
Yes,
make
yes,
sense.
specifically
Yeah.
they are. Yep.
Yeah, that's all I was wondering. Thank you.
And in relation to Joey's question, because I myself was unclear exactly what happened, and so I was able to go to a meet, and because I was a lone superintendent/principal, it let me sit in on some of the competitions. I'm wondering if perhaps during preparation, if the students would be willing to video themselves and we could send it out to the board so they can see exactly what they're doing when they go out, or maybe they could do a public performance one night at a board meeting, but they might be more comfortable videoing and sharing it.
If you are asking us to promote the speech and debate team, there will be zero problem with that.
That is exactly what I'm asking you to do.
Zero problem whatsoever. In fact, you're going to hear a lot about us in the days leading up
Oh,
to.
we'd love to. Any other questions?
Yes.
Natalie?
Do you guys have fundraising plans in place in terms of what you want to move forward with?
We have a few ideas, but this is in the infant stages. We wanted to ask permission before we went ahead and did anything so bold as as that. But yeah, bottle drives and my co-coach Aaron Pelletier is very good at fundraising.
Mhm. Awesome.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right, you got three, I'll cover all three things.
All three things, please.
Oh, attending, using the funds, and approval to fundraise. Approval suggested.
I make a motion, we approve all suggestions.
And second by Joy. Comments, you've done an outstanding job, you guys. With Brad leaving, you
Actually-
carried it on.
Brad came to quite a few of the tournaments. His spirit is definitely still within this team.
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Guys can leave.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, we
And
really.
go Cougars.
Yes, it's almost there. Because it's only 2 minutes and it takes time to transition. I'm gonna ask, I'm trying to find it where it is. Last page, thank you. Because I need to, yep. Okay. I'm gonna I need a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection B for discussion or consideration by a school board of suspension or expulsion of a public school student. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second? Roll call?
Dawn, Larry, Kathleen,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Okay. Tina, will you go in? You got an email to go out of here and to go into the other link,
Okay.
okay? And we'll wait for you to join.
I'm remote, so I'm not going to be able to access that link right now.
Okay.
Okay. I'll
Do you
hold.
see your email?
I'm not by my computer. I'm at a child's
Okay.
function. Yeah. Sorry.
You won't participate, but we can text you and get you back on.
Yeah. I think Brad has my number, or if somebody has my phone number, if they
right.
want to.
All right, Tina, just a minute.
Yep.
She can stay in here, but you can stay in this, but she won't hear anything, correct? Correct. Yeah, all right.
It's his ex's brother. Yeah. No, it's his brother. That's what Jeremy said anyway. I guess he wasn't good practice. So. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna come sit down by you guys for a minute. I'm on a school board meeting, but they're an executive session. Yeah. No,
I'll make a mo.
All right, everybody got your mics on? Is Tina here or gone?
She's on. I'm
Oh,
here.
Okay. She would have to abstain because she wasn't in. So I entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that, as it relates to the executive session, we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Could I have a second? Comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Tina, do you want to say abstain or you okay? We just,
I'll be abstained, yes.
All right, we're going back to our new business. Gina, you're up.
Big step for me. I got short legs, I'm sorry. Samantha? You all set? Okay. Okay, I think you all have one in your packet, but want to start with the mission statement for the RSU56 Nutrition Department. It's to contribute to the student academic success by providing well-balanced nutritious meals, promoting lifelong healthy eating habits, all served by caring professionals in a pleasant environment. The staffing, at Derigo Elementary School, we have 3 staff, consisting of 1 person in charge with 7 hours, 2 helper positions, 1 at 6 1/4 and 1 at 5 1/2. That's daily. The middle school, we have 3 staff, 1 is a production manager at 8 hours a day, and 2 helper positions, 1 at 6 1/4 and 1 at 4 hours daily. And the high school, 2 staff, which 1 is a person in charge with 6 3/4 hours and a helper at 4 hours daily, and then myself. I am not asking for any staffing changes. The budget, the school nutrition budget is zero-based budget. All funds needed to cover the expenses by the nutrition department are expected to be raised by reimbursement of meals, which is served under the National School Breakfast Program, Lunch Program, and CACFP After School Program, and a la carte snack programs and catering. The 2023-24 nutrition budget was subsidized by the district budget. I'm asking to hold my budget request steady at $173,000 to help defray payroll and benefits. And in this amount, it includes the $6,000 software maintenance fees. The vision of the nutrition department is to offer nutritional, visually appealing meals to students, staff, leading to increased participation by offering more scratch cooked meals, and continuing improvements in regards to equipment needs, and to utilize new ideas to gain student access to meals. And one example of that is a vending machine that is out here, but we don't have it up and running. Are there any questions?
I have one. To gain student access, a lot don't choose because we don't charge. So how would you see that would give better, what would give better equipment, would give better access?
Like we do have the vending machine, so that.
Is that going to be, they have to pay for it?
Nope.
Oh.
No, that's gonna be hooked up to their accounts so that I can have like breakfast, so they can, instead of going to the window or instead of at lunchtime waiting in line, they can punch the number. If there was like a quick pick type, a sandwich and fruit and a milk, they could just go to the vending machine, put the number in, it would drop down and it wouldn't be paid. It would just come off their account.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so it wouldn't charge their account rather than going through the regular line. They just go with it.
Okay.
So because I think sometime here, they don't really want to wait in line.
Okay.
Is one of the barriers.
So it's the same food they get in the line as, okay.
It wouldn't be the hot, it wouldn't have to be cold in this vending
Okay.
machine. It would be like sandwiches, salads, yogurt parfaits.
I have a question on that. So that means you're setting aside a different meal. How do you budget for that and not waste?
So it would we would offer it in the line too. So we might have an Italian sandwich that would be offered inside. We'd also have it outside, and we would have to rotate stuff So it could stay in there like 2 days, but then we'd have to pull it out. So there's very little waste actually in nutrition because they offer a variety. So,
Especially if there's leftovers and my son is there.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay, I have two questions. First one is in regards to our vision. I think our vision for nutrition when we withdrew was to move towards more like from scratch cooking, less processed, less packaged, and we had made like huge progress. We were really excited about it. Then COVID hits. And I felt like a lot of the things, some of the salad bars and some of the cool things that we had gotten going kind of went to the wayside. Like, how are we doing at like post-COVID?
It's coming
achieving this
back.
Vision?
We
And
are
then what
coming
do you
back.
see for next year, like to move more that direction?
So we have actually, even last year, we had it inside. So they still were offered the same meal, but they had to tell the kitchen worker what they wanted so that they weren't touching. But now we have the salad bars back, except for the elementary. So they get a pre-portion. It's the same meal. It's just it's already put in their container.
Okay.
And then we are doing a lot more scratch cooking, middle school, high school. And actually today they made fresh bread. They had grilled cheese on homemade bread in little rolls. I tried that roll. Very, very good. I thought about bringing some in.
I've also heard that your steak and cheeses are really good, so that's good.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, I know like staffing and everything, we're using the middle school obviously as our production
Yep.
kitchen. What's our thought on how that impacts food quality at the elementary school in particular? And like I'll confess, I have a fifth grader that moved
Yep.
to sixth grade and was really excited about moving from one school to another because he had more fresh food.
It's really
So
the
I'm
same
curious,
because
like,
it's all made at the same time. So like if it's turkey and gravy, we have turkey and gravy on Thursday. It's all made at the middle school and just shipped over. So it's actually the same exact food and it's all put out at the same time. I mean, it's all made at the same time.
Okay.
I think he's excited about the middle school because it's a lot more options. They have, well, at least 5 options a day, where they only really have 2 at the middle school. I mean, at the elementary school. Yeah.
So, and the other plug I want to put in, I appreciate, obviously our family has a farm, but I know you guys have worked a lot with local grants to try to source as much food locally as we can. And as a farmer, I thank you for that, but also as a parent, I think it's great that we're supporting local food producers.
I think next week we have Italian Dunkers and it is beef from your farm. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
no,
local
in
beef.
general, though, I mean, produce,
Yep.
apples in the fall. I
Yeah,
mean,
right now
throughout
we're
the
getting
year, I think
apples
it's great.
through Wayne,
Yep.
Emery Farms. So we try to source local.
I had one more question that I just thought of as
Yep.
far as local stuff. Where are we getting our milk from? Because we've received some of those meals on the off days, and a lot of that milk is expired. Where is that coming from?
That actually was frozen. So that was it's been frozen. That actually we had to order through Dennis Paper, our prime vendor. And in order to pre-make those meals, we had to put it in the freezer.
Okay,
So-
that's not surviving well. So maybe we can look for a different option as far as the milk is concerned.
Okay, because the milk is a requirement. We can't source
Yeah,
shelf-
but you can't send milk home with kids that is lumpy and nasty. They're not going to drink it anyway, so it's kind of a waste.
Okay, this is the first I've heard that it was lumpy, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? And the equipment's going good?
Yep, we have the new dishwasher coming into the elementary. It will be installed over April vacation.
Great.
So, yeah.
All right.
And right now, I don't foresee anything right now in the future for new equipment.
Well, hopefully.
I know, you never know.
We never know. We have
Yep.
some old things.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jean.
All right,
Awesome,
thank you.
good job.
Are you guys going up? Oh, Miss Mary.
So you should have a sheet that looks like this in your folder. So all the administrators have now been here on the different evenings and taught. So these are just all the little sections of the budget that we have left to go over. What you're looking at is the first column is the 23-24 actual budget figure. This doesn't include payroll and benefits in any of these sections except for food service. 24-25 proposed budget, and then the difference and the percent change. So the first item is Board of Directors, and that's going up primarily due to the increase of the annual audit. They increase every year. And also liability insurance, MSMA has told us that the increase might be as much as 15%, and they're going to let us know probably in a month or so what the actual increase is. Board election services is simply for printing of the ballots. We're going to keep that at the 1,200. The Office of the Superintendent is an increase of 3,200. So that is to cover an additional conference for the superintendent and a small increase in the copy and printer maintenance line. For the business office, $1,381 increase for the software maintenance annual fee. And we've picked up through Power School 2 new things, applicant tracker and human resources module that is going to be used by all the administrators and central office. So that's in this line. Teacher certification remaining the same, food service remaining the same. Major capital debt service is simply the principal and interest on Darragh Elementary School, and we're nearing the end of that. The last payment is in 2027, so the interest is decreasing each year. Out-of-district transportation and English language learners are both staying flat. Health services, the nurses have asked for a new audiometer, so that's why the increase of $1,000. And gifted and talented, the 2 gifted and talented teachers that put the budget together actually decreased these because of what they're actually spending to make it more in line. Any questions about any of that?
Thank you. Okay. We already did that one. Charles, you're up. You're here too.
So I come each year to prove to you that I am crazy. And just in case you had any doubts still lingering. So this is the time each year when I come to request permission to take a group of 5th graders camping for 4 days and 3 nights at Bryant Pond. Just joking, it's a great experience. I love it. It's one of the highlights of the year. Sleeping on the bunks is questionable, but everything else is great. So we are scheduled to go on the Tuesday after Memorial Weekend, so May 28th, and departing at DES from DES at around 8:30 in the morning, and then returning, being picked up around 12:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere in that range from Bryant Pond on that Friday. We may need some vans, so I'm asking for basically bus transportation there and back. And then typically we have a van that will go back and forth between the school, especially if we have some students who are not spending the night or who are in life skills program or something like that that need to go home for the day or only there for part of the day so that they can get that experience in. So our main focus when we go, you can see there under the what that we do a variety of activities. One of this is a very costly program. I think the total, if we were paying it all, would come out to $30-something thousand. One of the groups that pays a big chunk of this is Maine fishing, inland fishery and wildlife, and they do that because we participate in the hunter safety program while we're there. So students, the majority of them will pass the test and get their hunter safety license either in bow hunting or rifle hunting. Which is something we connected with a few years ago to kind of make this trip a little more affordable for us, but also to give kids something that a lot of the parents are thankful for because a lot of them are looking to do it anyways, and we kind of help them get it done for them. The kids that never hunt, never do that stuff, they learn survival skills. They've learned a lot of things that they should know when they're living in Maine anyways, if they were hiking or camping and things like that. The big reason why we started doing this was, number one, we wanted our kids to kind of have opportunities to stretch and grow themselves, and sometimes that means stepping in a canoe for the first time. For some of our kids, it's spending the night away from home for the first time, going on a zip line, rock climbing, some of these things that maybe they haven't done that maybe will challenge and stretch them a little bit and give them the confidence to know that they can do those things. Kind of like going to the middle school the next year, like it's going to be different. It's going to be some hard things and they'll be stretched, but they can do it and they can have that confidence that they can do it. We want to give them a chance to kind of bond as a group of fifth graders as they leave the elementary school and head on to the middle school. And really, we want to give them an opportunity to have fun. The cost down at the bottom, like I mentioned, a significant part of it is paid for. I have down here 2,700. I got finally got the contract today. That was an estimate. It's 2,500. We budget for that, and then I also received a grant from Friends of the River Valley, who gave me a grant towards this as well. So we'll use some of that money to cover the cost of that this year. So out of the budget, we're looking at maybe like somewhere between 800 and 1,000, and that's something I budget for each year for this. So pretty small amount of money considering we're taking 60 kids for 4 days and 3 nights, and probably feeding them alone would cost more than that if that's what we're budgeting for. So that's what I have. If you have any questions about it, we've done it for, I don't know, 7 years, I think, at this point, something like that. It's grown. We started with 1 day, 1 night, came home, and then it kind of got bigger from there. And I think we're at our max in terms of length, but it's all good. It's a great program.
2 questions.
Sure.
So I had the pleasure of chaperooning last year. I didn't actually stay overnight though. I left that to you guys. But length, I did have a question because it seemed like in the past we've kind of, it has grown in terms of number of nights away. And it seemed like last year at the end of the week there was some discussion was 3 nights. Like, so we decided that was the right amount of time to get everything in that we needed to get.
So I think one of the biggest things, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. One of the biggest things is if we don't go, or if we're not there for the 4th day for the testing, then in the past, Bryan Pond would come to the school and do the testing in the school. And because of how busy they are, their programs are pretty packed. They're finding it more and more challenging to get into the schools to finish that. So really on that last day, that's what we're doing is we're kind of reviewing for the test. They'll do a few bonding games and stuff like that. But really they're there to take the test, have lunch, and then go home. So yeah, that 3rd night is, first night they're wild and crazy and they don't get a lot of sleep because some of them don't sleep well. 2nd night, they usually sleep well. 3rd night, they realize, hey, it's our last night. We're not sleeping well again for other reasons, but it's all fun.
No, it's a great program. I'm excited to support it. Other question I have just on logistics. We have 5th graders that participate in middle school sports now. And I know last year we ran into a couple issues. There were a couple baseball games, which it was still regular season maybe. I know we also had our regional or state track meet was during this week. Plans for transportation, is it for up to parents to work on that, or
that would absolutely be up to parents. The encouragement will be, unless it is for a regional event, like we made kind of an exception with track, although parents picked them up for that it was something that the kid, it's not like a regular baseball game where you got 2 or 3 others that you will go to or something like that. So really the expectation will be, we will want them and encourage them to stay. If a parent wants to come and pick them up, then we'll sign them up through that process, just like we would anybody else. But yeah, and again, I think it was predominantly just the track kids that went last year. The baseball, softball, we said stay. You got other games, it's fine. Usually those numbers have been solid, so it wasn't like they weren't able to play because the kids were there. So
awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Charlie? So I entertain a motion to approve their trip. Second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn.
Yes.
Larry. Kathleen.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Thank you. Boy, you ran. Okay, next on the agenda is the first reading of, I am on, policy IJJR, instructional library medium material selection procedure. So instead of making a motion in second, we could review what we did and how we, well, Pam, we had asked, I think you were at that one. No, not the one we did this, but the recommendation to having Pam try to come up with something that would be, and this is what she came up with. And, and when she mentioned the two letters, and that we got an email, and were they both email? Well, one was a letter, one was an email to, maybe it was just to me and you. Yes, one. Did you get from Heidi? Okay. She had a couple of questions about it. What does inconsistent reviews mean? Who determines it? And I think the libraries and administration. And I think that was the major one. And the librarians had sent a letter. Is it for every book or the ones that have just mixed reviews? And if I'm reading this correctly, it's the one that have mixed reviews, not every book. And there was a question about, because I know Kathleen actually just gave us before the board that one of these, but they are regularly used, but they're not the total list, possible sites, had given a review, but that is why the librarians use more than one. And the librarians actually had a whole list more of who they look at for books and different things. So the procedure would not, that's possible sites, not every site. And is there anything else? Because you pretty much explained it.
No, so the thing would be if they found books that they were looking at, they had inconsistent reviews. And by that, we mean, you know, if you take a book that some say it's okay for high school and some say it's an adult book, that's inconsistent. Like there's not, they're saying different things about a book. Then that book would, if the librarian still thought it was a book that we should have, then it would go to the administration to consider. So it just gives another little stop to think about this book, and it goes to the administration to determine, like they would then do their reviews, they'd read the book, they'd determine if they felt like it still needed to be in the library or not. It just gives an extra layer of stop and think about a book that maybe have inconsistent reviews out there.
Liz?
I don't know if it's an appropriate time and right this minute, but I'd like to kick it back to the policy committee, because apparently I'm getting a feeling from the librarians that this is going to be way too time consuming. Am I correct?
So at first, when they thought it was every book that they were going to do, they did think it was time consuming. At this point, I think the biggest concern from librarians is that you're taking a professional librarian who reviews books, that's what they do, and you're putting that now into an administrative hand that we don't normally review books. So they just feel like it's an unnecessary step in a process that realistically, if you look at the history of Jericho High School or the middle school library, we haven't had contentious books in our library particularly often. And we had one that went through a process and was removed. So they feel like the process already works. They already have professionals reviewing books. So they feel like the policy IJJR, the procedure part, is not necessary. That's, I think, the biggest thing that I've heard from them in talking to them.
And I've gotten the feeling that they think that, we're kind of picking on them, which I'm not. I think, they have a job to do. At the meeting, though, we were lacking a couple of members. There was one out sick and one away on vacation. So, I mean, I voted to kick it out and come to the board only because we were at a stalemate and I felt we were going to be at a tie. So I figured, I'll vote to kick it out. I really didn't, I've thought more about it since that time. And then getting that from the librarians. And also, we talked about it in policy and said that, the buck stops with the superintendent or principal. So, but you're not always going to be here.
It still stops with the
But-
superintendent
Yeah.
and the principals.
Yeah.
That's why we hire good people. That is.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, no, I agree. But I don't know how anybody else on the committee feels, but I'd kind of like to go back to the drawing board, but that's just my opinion. Majority rules.
Could
I-
I say something?
Before you speak, I do know this has been dragging on, and I know you mentioned, because Brad wasn't there and Joy wasn't there, we need to do action. We've heard from the community to stop, move on, so we're trying to get a solution so we can move on. So I'm okay, because this can be a first reading. If you don't want it at all, then it stops. But it can be revised, things. But did ask Pam to come up with something we think would be a good stopgap. But I don't know, you know. Joy, go ahead.
I'm happy with what you proposed as far as, except I'd like to talk to the librarian one more time. I wasn't happy that time when she was here, and I asked her if after all this difficulty that we had with this book, if it would change her way of doing, how she reviewed and got books, and she was very adamant that, no, it hasn't changed a bit. This is how I'm gonna do it. Well, if that's her attitude, yes, that's why we had to come up with a
Now,
policy.
remember, you are talking, yes, but
So-
we don't talk employees. We don't talk about their performance.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's
But
the
this,
reason
that's the
was
reason.
considering.
Yes, but I'm okay with this. Kathleen didn't want it. I think she wants more teeth to it. And
I'm okay with that, with what you've come up with. I just would like to speak to the librarian one more time about,
but that's not our position. That's why we
we
have,
can't do that, even at a policy meeting, we can't invite her?
I could invite her, but that would be an interrogation of her performance.
No,
Now,
I-
her philosophy, do you feel, because if we get this done, policy has to be enforced. There is no, I don't do it. But there's a fine line, and especially with the union, that you can just, well, you didn't do this. That,
Well,
we,
I understand protocol.
you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
protocol of this.
Yeah.
So,
But that, I think, is what holding the mess up, is making sure
Okay.
that it's gonna
but
follow
we've
through.
got to, yes, go ahead, please.
So our librarians have and will continue to follow policy. So if you put this in, then obviously they're going to follow this procedure that's part of policy.
Okay.
Larry?
It's already in policy. It's already in policy. The board delegates the responsibility of selection of library, media, materials, and technology and inter-associates to the school system professionally trained staff and the superintendent. It's already in policy. So why are we even talking about it?
I have a thought.
Yep, go ahead, Brad.
First of all, I don't agree what happened in the committee meeting at all. I wasn't here, so I'm not sure I have much to say about it, but I'd like to see it go back to committee. When we were talking to the librarians, I had asked about genderqueer specifically, what was the decision process that made it feel appropriate that that book was there? The consistent answer, I think 5 times, was we sent a packet to the board. Okay, that was a non-answer. So there's nothing in the policy that I would see that would cause them to be more critically thinking about controversial books. I just went in the library tonight. There's a book in there that's a Lesbian's Guide to Catholic School. I find that very interesting. There's more books in there that I think parents would find disturbing. And I think that's the reason why I had suggested that this should take some time. We should be thoughtful about what we do. It's not banned books, but the community has made it very clear. They do want action, no question. They want it dealt with. This isn't dealing with it. It sounds just like a lot of the same old, same old. Pam's job is to review books that come in and approve or deny. And I don't blame her. She says, I've got professionals that I trust to do this job. And in the community's eyes, the professionals didn't do that job. It's not a beat them up because they don't do their job right. But I think that there's an ideological disconnect around what's appropriate to be in the library and not. And it feels to me like there is a rush to just get this thing out of the way because it's uncomfortable as hell. It really is uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't think anybody else likes it. But our community is saying, just get these damn books out of here and put some teeth in place that say, we won't have this kind of material. Specifically, these kids could not search this content that's in some of these books on the computer. It would break rules and it would be problematic, and then they should be disciplined with that. But here we are endorsing it in the library. So I think it needs to go back to committee. I certainly would not have voted to remove the policy as it stands right now.
Don?
Yeah, we had a policy, the policy was working. I take it this is not much different than what we had right along. I agree with Larry. I don't know why we keep going back to the same thing over and over and over. We got something that works. When the people let us know that they're not happy, we can do something about it.
Anyone else? Kathleen?
I think we have to look at community standards, and genderqueer was not the community standard in this community. And I empathize with the librarians. This policy, this procedure would not have culled genderqueer from our library. You have 2 book lists and school library journal that didn't even mention the explicit content. And how did the librarians know? I don't know. And the genderqueer won an Alex Award and a Stonewall Honor Books Award. So I think we need to look at more closely at the review sites. I can't fault the librarians if they don't know.
Okay, so I can see, because I'm hearing they don't like it. I'm going to speak. We don't need it, which I don't think we need it, but we were hoping somehow. So there's only the choices. And like Brad say, I'm not going to mince words. You either want to go through, take what books out that you don't find. When I hear community, I also hear other community. There's not just one side of this. There's not just one side saying, get those books out. Because I still believe that we have to delegate. It's not my job to pick the books. We do see, we have a process. It did work. We're going back to how did this book get in here? And we want to make sure that book doesn't get, no books like it get in there again. And we want to make sure that any book that mentions something is not in there. So I don't know what policy or what thing we could write or do that would solve that and actually come to the board and get approval. Larry?
Yeah, in talking, listening to Kathleen talk, she goes, "Oh, I don't blame the librarians," but she keeps bringing up that they were responsible for bringing genderqueer into the school. I just want to remind her and the board, 8 school districts challenged genderqueer. RSU56 was the only district to ban it. And my reaction to Kathleen is, it doesn't seem that the librarians are the problem. It seems like this small minority of people trying to disrupt the educational system to benefit their own agenda is the problem. This demeaning and frivolous attacks on librarians and the staff has got to stop. This is illegal and bordering on illegal of harassment. And as an employee of this school district, if I was a librarian in this school district, I would file a harassment and a hostile work environment against this board right now, because listening to these statements, that is harassing. And as an employee, that is not acceptable.
Just Joy, it's state of Maine, then Natalie.
Okay, I guess I'll be honest, I think I'm a lot more concerned about how we encourage students to use the library. I'm a lot more concerned about keeping libraries relevant, and a place that our students utilize and want to go into. I would love for us and the librarians to spend as much time discussing how we encourage effective use of the library, and make sure that it stays a central point of the school and doesn't become a relic and a dinosaur. When I look at our policies and procedures, I think that we have a policy in place that was proven to be effective, but I do also understand that that policy alone hasn't satisfied the concerns of some of our board members and also a percentage, a large group of our community members and parents. I guess I get concerned when we talk about blanket policies and procedures around any instructional materials or library curriculum materials, because I worry that how do we balance the expectation that a policy is going to be followed to the letter, which I think is important. I think whatever we have in policy and procedure needs to be clear, it needs to be black and white, and the expectation is that it's followed in its entirety. We've had other discussions around that throughout the year, and how do we balance that expectation with some of the other things that we've looked at around this area when full enforcement, we could say that's not what was intended, but full enforcement maybe would have unintended consequences. I guess maybe I'm the only one sitting here, it sounds like. I'm okay with the procedure as drafted because I feel like it strikes a balance where it still allows our professional staff autonomy to do their job. But at the same time, it does provide some assurances, I guess, to our community members and our parents that look like we're not looking at one single site for reviews of materials. We're not looking at a single source. It's not one person. And then when the question, if it ever comes up again, Brad, you raised the question, how did genderqueer get into the library? There's a form that says this is how, if down the road, I don't think it should happen, but if it did, someone wanted to challenge a material, we have a paper trail, right? Of that this material, like this is the reason that it was acquired in the first place. I guess when I look back, and we really shouldn't, we should look forward, but if we do look back at genderqueer, I do feel like it would have been questioned through this procedure because there's no question that it's contentious. There are differing reviews in terms of age ranges that it is or is not appropriate for based on their reviews. So I don't love the procedure. In an ideal world, I don't really think it's necessary, just for me. But I also, I hear the concerns and recognize that we probably need to take some action to demonstrate like a response and that we're being more proactive in this area as a district and as a board. And I think that this is a step in that direction, to be more proactive, to be more thoughtful, to recognize, and discuss anything that potentially would be contentious coming in and to add another level of review to any of those types of materials. So I guess that was long-winded, but I'd come back and support that for this, support this for that reason.
I would also support it as it's been proposed there, because I do think it's kind of a hard stop. But I mean, my opinion, not that it matters a whole lot, but my opinion is that no matter one's personal feelings, there should be books for everyone in the library, not just a representation of one particular feeling. However, I also think that we come into today's society where books are being offered up that really aren't appropriate, would be considered pornographic. And I think that there should be information supporting young people in all of their different beliefs and personal feelings. But I think that this particular proposal provides a hard stop. Well, let's just look at this and make sure that it's going to be appropriate for our young people in the community that we are in. And the thing is, I feel a great deal of frustration when I hear a person on our board say a small amount of our community. The thing is, it's not a small amount of our community who feels this way. And not time and time again. I don't understand, unless you're listening to a few 5 people, how you think the whole community feels that way when, it's a large part of the community have concerns over what our children have access to. And as a parent, it is a huge concern. I need to know what my kids are being openly invited to. And if it's something that is controversial in any way, it should be up to me to provide that material to them, not necessarily the school, especially if it's something that has pornographic images in it. I'm frustrated by that one-sided, oh, it's just a small amount of the community, because that's incorrect by a lot. But I think that as it's proposed of right now, it just provides another sense of security for parents, and know that the book is just doing a quick look over, and yeah, I think it would just be peace of mind for folks.
I think the appropriate place for this is, because we could argue all night, is back at the committee. And I think that if we were to take the time and get right down to it, there, like Tina said, there is the school's domain and there's the parents' domain. And we've twisted up what is the parents' domain, because I don't think that the library's job is to provide information for everybody. If that was the case, then you would take the teenage boy and then you'd have the pornography magazines in the school. And our publications would be lined with Penthouse and Playboy and all those, if that was the argument. And I don't think that's what adults here are saying they want to see. So I think we really ought to shoot this back to committee. We address it and then move forward.
Consensus.
I guess I would move that we go ahead with this procedure, as I would approve it with the first reading. I don't love it, as I said, but I think it strikes a balance. I recognize that the policy alone isn't palatable to a lot of folks, and I think this gives us an extra, I think Tina phrased it correctly, like that kind of extra stop and give it pause, look at it, and make sure that we're very thoughtful in the selection process. So I would move forward with the procedure as it's first read.
Unless I missed something, this is not new policy. It already is the policy.
It's new policy.
It's a new procedure.
So is it different from Pam approving all the books that come out? Because that's my understanding of it. I could be wrong.
No, this is a procedure that goes with our current policy, where it would be new. And it was on the agenda. I have a motion.
I just have another statement real quick. We already have a policy.
Okay, you've said that we are.
Larry,
Right now, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
What's the
to-
motion again?
The motion
move
is to
forward with this
approve the first
procedure.
reading of
Okay.
this. Second, comments or questions?
Just want to interject.
Yes.
Okay.
If it's something new.
It's second, and I just have a comment. With the assistance of the professional staff, the superintendent shall establish a system for the selection of instructional materials. The board delegates responsibility for the selection of instructional materials and library and media resources to the professionally trained personnel employed by the school system, subject to the criteria and procedure of the board's policy. So it's already in place. So yes, this basically supports the policy we already have.
It's a procedure, it's a supplemental procedure that
Supplemental
outlines,
procedure.
that outlines specifically, but I think gives more clarity that at least 4 review sites are utilized, that any places where there are inconsistencies or potential areas of
And
concern.
if somebody has a
that there's-
question, this is the
there's-
process we
there's-
use.
There's that extra step, an extra level. So yeah.
I agree. Thank you.
Just to clarify, we still have our current policy. If a parent, anyone has an issue with a book, follow that right to the thing. This is a step where the books that are being purchased will have, they go through different sites, and Kathleen made a valid point, because some points, and I agree, they love, that this is a great award winner, but there's always other opinions. And so this would give us a start to say, okay, we know, because it is hard. There's a lot of different books out there, and you don't know what's coming. And I didn't mean a small part of the community. I have heard from different people, but I still believe the parents should be aware of what their child is reading. I do believe in parents' rights for involvement and for their things. So that's the difference. So any other questions, comments? It's a start. This may not even work. It could work one thing and say, okay, this isn't working. But Kathleen.
So the point of this paper is that it's possible to find 4 review sites that didn't even mention the sexual content. And I think I proposed in the committee that we go a step further, and even I would like to see it, that we post on a website, on RSU56 website, 30 days before purchase, so that parents can see and aren't blindsided in what's in the library. And I don't think we have much to hide, but that is, it's a hot topic out in the world, nationally and statewide. And I think the extra step would be appreciated. And I think we need to vet the reputable sites more, because if we find that one particular site does not include details of or explicit sexual content, then we might cross it off the list.
Okay. Any other comments? New comment?
New comment. Just challenging the professional integrity of the librarians.
Okay,
I'm segueing into what I want to say about her and the parents.
No, we're not, I'm gonna.
No, I want to, she mentioned up the parents, and I
No,
want to follow up with that.
With a motion and a second, can I move to call the question?
Yes, you can. All right. All right, I have a motion and second. Roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
By objection, yes.
Kathleen,
No.
Joy,
Oh. I didn't want to speak any louder. Can I say I'm indecisive?
You vote.
Abstain.
You can abstain.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain because I have questions still.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
And this is supporting the policy, or this additional
Yes.
to the policy.
yes.
Yeah.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
No.
Liz,
No.
Natalie,
Yes.
I'm gonna have her commute. Turned it off. Motion carries. Next, approval of ELO coordinator job description.
All right, we're gonna go right through here. We've got 4 job descriptions that the Personnel Committee are bringing forward this evening for review and approval. All have been reviewed and approved by the Personnel Committee, so we're bringing them forward to the full board. So Pam did email those out to everyone for review in advance. We will start with the ELO coordinator job description. As you know, this is a grant-funded program and position that we've discussed at previous board meetings. Felt it was important to have a job description as we're going to move forward. The job's been posted, and the process is underway for interviews and filling this position. The job description that we've developed and approved at the Personnel Committee level was really drawn from the group that is administering the grant. The duties and responsibilities are pretty clearly outlined. We've also looked at other districts that are already moving forward with ELO coordinator positions. So we're ensuring that we're consistent with what other schools are using. So I don't know if there are any questions, if everyone had a chance to review it, but I guess we'd entertain a motion to approve this. So we have a job description on file for ELO coordinator.
Do I have a second?
I guess I.
Oh, I
don't
thought
know.
you made it. Oh,
Do I
it-
make the motion?
No,
or-
you can, do I have a motion?
I guess so moved. I don't know if I'm
Second,
represented.
comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
I'll let you go ahead.
Yep. Next one, we are going to move on to school resource officer. I think Pam had given us an update last time that we have a person that has fulfilled that position. I believe they were getting all situated this last week.
So they've been officially hired through Oxford County Sheriff's Department. They are spending this week at the academy for a refresher in their written test, and then they should be ready to roll pretty soon.
All right, so this is a little bit of a unique job description in that RSU56 as a school district is not the true employer of a school resource officer. They are an employee of the Oxford County Sheriff's Department. That being said, they obviously are fulfilling an important position within the school and the district, and we thought it was important to have a job description in place. So under performance responsibilities, that is drawn directly from the contract that this person has with the Oxford County Sheriff's Department, because it really isn't on us to add or take away responsibilities. They've already got a contract in place. We thought it was important for the district to document and to have this on file for this position. So I don't know if there are any questions or concerns after review. If not, we'd entertain a motion to approve this job description for the school resource officer.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
comments or questions? You don't, all right, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen.
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
All right, the next one.
All right, next one's a mouthful, guys. We are looking at the payroll, bookkeeper, AP, and HR job description, and have a tremendous amount of respect and appreciation for the person that has fulfilled all of those roles and are sad to see her retire. And upon her retirement and the need to post that position, we realized that we actually had a position that was operating under two separate job descriptions, because when we had withdrawn from RSU 10, we weren't really sure like what the skill sets would be and how the central office would be staffed. So we had kind of separated the different roles, and then we're fortunate to have folks that could fulfill multiple jobs. Now that we know that this is the job and that the person that sits in the seat in the central office has to perform these functions, we decided it didn't make sense to have two job descriptions, and we merged them together. So I don't know that there's really anything here that's new. We tried to, under requirements of work, separate the different areas so it was kind of clear which functions were payroll, what was AP, and then what fell under the bookkeeper and HR. And there were a couple things that were duplicates, so we tried to make those fit under one of the headings. We also had Mary and Pam review and see if there were any things on those old job descriptions that weren't really applicable because Mary was doing them, for example. So there were a couple things that we had taken out because they no longer fit under this. So we've combined them. We have one job description now and have that role posted as well. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this job description.
Second,
Second.
comments or question? Seeing none, roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen.
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes. All right, last one. Athletic director assistant. This is a new job description. It's a stipend position. It's been a really critical position to support our extracurricular activities, because oftentimes we have multiple things going on across buildings, things happening here at the high school, things happening at the elementary school and at the middle school. So the athletic director assistant, we worked with the current athletic director to kind of outline what the responsibilities are, what that person is doing, and kind of looked as a district at what the expectations are. So I don't think there's any surprises. We have people that have been doing this for a while. We just haven't truly had it documented as a job description. And I think moving forward, it's certainly important. We're going to have a new athletic director next year. So let's make sure that we have all of our job descriptions and duties outlined clearly. So I would entertain a motion to approve the job description for the athletic director assistant.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to be accepted what Natalie said.
Second. Comments or question? Roll call.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry, Kathleen.
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
And the next one is the agenda item we added. The curriculum committee met before the board, and I'm going to let Brad take it over.
Yeah, so we had met recently. Well, we met tonight, but we met about a month ago, and we had talked as a curriculum committee about a core text for social studies, which we had decided at that point it was the McGraw-Hill core textbook. And a little perspective here, we have not had one in what sounds like 20 years. We have not had anything. Apparently because picking a social studies book is controversial. so we took that on, and thanks to Jason Long, for all of his support and the teachers that were involved in evaluating the book. We had come to the conclusion that book would work, but some of the board members felt specifically that we didn't spend enough time ourselves looking at the text. So you've got the professional's opinion, which we do respect, and then you have the lay people who have to say, yes, I agree with that, but they weren't feeling really comfortable about, I agree with it, I've read 3 sentences. So the books were handed around over the last month. We had a meeting tonight, and it really came down to there is no perfect answer. There has to be an answer that's in the middle of the road. We felt that the McGraw-Hill book would work. And the decision made by the committee tonight was that we were going to press forward with McGraw-Hill book. The thing I want to add before I make the motion that we added to the agenda tonight is I want to give a lot of credit to Jason Long. I'll tell you, if you need to understand something better, he's the man. He's got data to back him up. And tonight, something quite impressive happened because he realized that we need to get this right. I think we always want to get it right. We need to get this right. Is he was able to put together a really substantial amount of information and a timeline for us and compared multiple texts and really went to the mat on his own time. He deserves a lot of credit. And I would add that I don't know how he does it. If he's doing the principal's job and he's got a number of other roles that fit within that, and then he's got this curriculum coordinator. We're very lucky that he doesn't say, show me more money. That's not code for ask for more money, but anyway, so a lot of credit to Mr. Long. Thank you. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm asking for the board to approve the following instructional materials: McGraw-Hill's United States Voices and Perspectives and McGraw-Hill's United States History. Those are the two books, learning materials that we need to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
Couple questions.
You gotta know who first. Okay, Larry.
Brad, do we also want to mention too, that Land of Hope is a secondary material?
We should mention, in addition to that, that we had talked about having thanks for bringing that up. We have the core text. So this is going to give us everything that we kind of refer back to, and the teachers build their plans on that. We also agreed that more perspective is needed. So there is a book series called Land of Hope that is a U.S. history series that may come from, to be frank, a more conservative perspective. And then there is the A Patriot's History by Howard Zinn, which does come very explicitly from a more left-leaning perspective. So the point of that is we've got our core text, and now, quote unquote, students, let's take a look at other perspectives here on how these historical events happened.
Like supplementary.
They are, with the idea that the teacher's always empowered to pull in other resources as well. So thank you for bringing that up there.
Okay, quick,
Go ahead, Natalie.
quick question. Which age group? Like this is curriculum for, is it just middle school or does it move into the high school as well?
Can you remind us, Jason?
6-12. Okay.
6-12.
Okay. What are we using right now?
Do we use anything?
Nada.
Okay, like I almost hesitate to ask the question, but I genuinely am curious what we're replacing or if.
So, part of the process involved meeting with the U.S. history teachers, and we did an inventory. We do not currently have a U.S. history textbook that meets our policy. What we have is 10 years old or older. There are some supplemental resources that are great, but I think that without a core text, it's very hard to, even though you have identified your standards, it's very hard to create a coherent experience for kids over time. And so we were trying to do that. I have an inventory list that I can show you, but the bottom line is we're kind of a little all over the place resource wise. And I personally feel as a U.S. history guy that is to the detriment our ability to effectively teach US history.
Does this also support some of our like government classes as well? It's mostly it's history?
Yep, nope, that's a great question. So, no, this is a US history text, and as a civics text, it would be insufficient.
Okay.
How does it do, since you said 6 through 8? So I know we do
6 through
main
12.
6 through 12. How do we do main studies? And I'm from New York. I always forget the indigenous. Is it
Sure.
Abenaki?
So there's Wabanaki and Abenaki. So the part of
I've
Maine
been
where we
reading
live is
Micmac, so-
Abenaki, but Wabanaki is the larger confederation. So as a national text, it meets what the expectations would be for Native American history, for African American history. The new version of the main learning results in social studies are not yet finalized. It's a national book. You know, a lot of our discussion at the committee level was we were comparing the national edition versus the Florida edition. The state of Maine isn't a large enough market where they're going to tailor a version of the textbook to our standards. So it'll still require the use of supplemental resources to check off some of the boxes in the main learning results. But generally speaking, this is a text that, to use the phrase we kept using, you know, is middle of the road enough to adequately address the themes related to unity and diversity that are a substantial part of the main learning results, to your question.
Any other questions? Kathleen?
I want to echo Brad's kudos for the amount of work you did and your expertise in bringing it to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, I thought you were ready. She took a deep breath. All right. Seeing none, roll call.
John?
Yes.
Larry? Kathleen?
No.
Joy?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Natalie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, oh, it isn't you. Go home. All right. Okay. Now it's our new place, board member comments.
I have a quick comment and I'm sorry, but I'm the only one home right now and I really need to get my kids in bed. So is it okay if I cut out early?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. Oh, bye. I thought she had a comment.
I think that was her
She
comment.
wants to give. Anybody else?
Can this be unrelated to anything we've talked?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got a girl that works for us in our business, out of school, not a personal business, who's gonna be joining our school, I think, in the fall because of an incident at Mountain Valley. What is our policy on what did she call it, Section 9? Title 9?
So we do, it's a federal law, but we don't have, I mean, we have policies that we're going to follow,
Right.
Title IX. Because it's a federal law.
Okay. The school didn't follow the policy. So, I mean, the family actually went to a lawyer, everything, because the school was just not, anyway, she's homeschooling from now till, the end of June, because she won't let her child go back to school. He was, I think he was given a expulsion for, I don't know if it was a week or 10 days. But then when the family went for a meeting with the principal and teachers and whatever, they said that they followed policy, but she had looked it up, her and her mother, and found what the school policy is for this
and highlighted, they never followed anything. So she just said, well, you know, my son will be returning here. He's, fourth grade. So she's gonna like I said, homeschool him till June, and then she's gonna try to get him into Dixfield.
All right.
But I didn't know what our policy was.
Well,
as
the
far as-
policy is if a student wants to come and if they don't live here, they do superintendent's agreement.
Mhm.
So they would contact the school and they would give
Yeah.
them the information.
But on that type of a case, what do we do?
It is a thing we can do, yeah. We don't know that. That's the student's confidentiality in the family. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they can contact the school. Anybody can
Yeah, well,
contact
she
the school.
knew I was on the school board in Dixfield, so she said, well, what's your policy on, I've only been here 6 months. I don't know all the policies yet.
Always can call the school.
All right.
All right. Any other board member comments? Okay. Superintendent's report.
So I do want to put this wonder out there. I wonder if we should push out the board vote on the budget to April 23rd so that we have the anthem actual number before you make your full vote. And it will not impact the rest of the budget process or the timeline. Seeing a lot of nods, so general consensus, yes. Okay, I also wanted to, you may already be aware, but I also wanted you to know that we did have a bus driver who was unfortunately a witness to a fatal accident while driving. The driver did everything correctly. Our driver had their red lights on, was stopped. Students were exiting the bus. Cars coming in the opposite direction were stopped. Motorcycle behind the car was stopped. Subsequent cars did not stop. And so the motorcyclist was killed, unfortunately, and condolences, obviously, to the family of the motorcyclist. But my heart is also going out to our bus driver who's really struggling right now. And I just want you to know that we're supporting that bus driver and working with them as we move forward with that. Lastly, we have some districts that I'm hearing from that are planning an early release and some even a remote day on April 8th because of the upcoming solar eclipse. So I don't know if there's any desire from the board to entertain an early release because we do have parents and families that are trying to go somewhere to see this event. So we could potentially add in an early release on April 8th if people are feeling like that's something that they would want to support.
We can get it to count today.
It would still count if we did a dismissal at 11:30. We have some teachers that are looking at like, maybe could we do something to take kids to some of this? And I said to one who was trying to organize it, they're looking at like 20 to 30,000 people in Rangeley. I'm not sure we want to send a bus, but you know, if families wanted to go see it, that would give them the option. Anyway, it just something, and I'm hearing like maybe that.
Get a consensus on that.
What time is the eclipse?
It's at about 3:30. So the other option, the other thing is our kids would be on the bus and it could get somewhat dark in this area. So like, is that distracting it? I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of districts were thinking about how they could handle it, and I thought I'd send it out to the board to.
Yeah.
So parents are aware.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Okay. And then while Mr. Swan is coming forward, I'll just report out some resignations and retirements. Carol Ricards, who's a special ed tech at the middle school, will be retiring at the end of the school year. Heather Merchant, who's also a special ed tech at the middle school, is resigning at the end of the year as her family is moving to a different area. And Caitlin Woolham, a special ed tech at the middle school, is resigning as of April 1st, 2024. So that's coming up. And then we have one transfer. Chrissy Holmquist from the middle school is going to transfer back to the Derigo Elementary School starting in the next school year.
What grade?
Probably 5.
Okay, I was just curious.
So while Brian's pulling up the slideshow I have prepared for you tonight, instead of doing my regular board report, dog and pony show, thought that it might be good to give you a little insight into our new reading program. Just kind of scratch the surface with it. Obviously, I'm not going to cover it in full detail. I also have 2 staff members that have told me that I owe them lots of chocolate. But they're here because sometimes you're like, Charlie, yeah, you're selling us this, but we really want to hear from the teachers, or we want to ask the teachers about it themselves. So they're here to answer any teacher-related questions that you might have. So Brian, if we want to go on to the next slide. So we're looking at these 4 questions tonight. Why did we adopt a new reading program? Why did we adopt this reading program? And what is taught in this reading program? And what have been the pros and cons of this new reading program? So I'm going to try in the next 7 or 8 minutes to cover those 4 questions for you. All right, Brian. So why did we adopt a new reading program? So when I started at the elementary school 13 years ago, one of the things I asked when I first got there was, well, what's our reading program? And I kind of got a bundle of stuff like, it's this, but it's this. It's really kind of like a framework, but it's, you know, each teacher kind of does their own thing, but it's kind of built on this model. And it was frustrating, but not being new to the elementary school and not being a reading expert by any measure, I, you know, kind of decided that this is something that would need to poke around and kind of figure out, is this good? Is this bad? What's going on? So that kind of started the process 13 years ago. Then, of course, our district went through all kinds of changes since I've been at the elementary school, from joining with RSU10, leaving RSU10, COVID, and all kinds of fun stuff that we've been on. And that's kind of led to good and bad. So when we're with RSU10, there was kind of you know, all the elementary schools are going to do the same thing, and that was kind of hard because it didn't seem like the blanket fit every school the same way. Then, of course, number 2, our data kept saying, you know, what we're doing is not working. We need to make a change. And number 3 is a big one for me. When you have a comprehensive reading program that's specifically, ours is pre-K to grade 5 or K to grade 5, it kind of guarantees that kids are going to get a similar experience in each of the classrooms, in each of the grades. And it begins to eliminate some of the gaps in learning that we were seeing. We were seeing some of our kids in 4th and 5th grade have really strong, really deficits in foundational skills that they should have picked up early on. And, you know, and when you don't have a specific program that you're following, and each teacher's kind of doing the best they can at kind of filling in the gaps and doing what they can, you create holes, or the student learning experience has holes, and sometimes those get bigger over time. Sometimes they get different experiences and different holes in their learning. Number 4 is a big one, especially for our new staff. I can't imagine walking into an elementary school classroom and saying, "Yeah, let's teach these. You got to teach these kids how to read." Okay, well, there's no textbook, there's no program, there's no, you know, just go ahead and figure out where they are and where they need to go, and good luck. For an inexperienced or new teacher, that's daunting. For an experienced teacher, that is daunting and takes a lot of time, like a tremendous amount of time to do that effectively. And then number 5, one of the silver linings for us for COVID was we got this opportunity to invest in our reading program with funds that we never would have available. So for one time, we got to have a discussion about what's the best option, not what can we afford, what can we get on the cheap, what's, you know, it was what are we looking for, and what's the best choice for our kids. So as a committee, so we formed a reading committee, and that committee was represented by someone from each grade level: GT, Special Ed, Title I, myself, Jason was on it, just to try to start skimming through programs, what's out there, what's available. And the committee really looked at these 4 things that they said, these are important to us. We wanted a program that we were looking K to 5. If they had pre-K, that was a bonus. But we really wanted something K to 5, because some reading programs go K2, and then you have to do something different in 3-5. We really wanted it to span all of our grades. We wanted a program that put real books in the hands of our kids, especially in the older grades. So a lot of programs, as you know, there's a big textbook that comes. This is your reading textbook, and you work through that textbook. And committee didn't want that. We wanted actual books in the hands of our kids. We wanted the program that integrates science and social studies into the reading instruction. So science and social studies at the elementary school always gets pushed to the outer limits of the schedule. And that's because reading and math take up a big chunk of our time and a big chunk of our priority. But we really wanted something that put science and social studies content into our reading, so that as kids were learning how to read, they were learning about interesting things about science and social studies. Why not? That makes sense. And then we wanted a program that was grounded in the science of reading, and I'm going to get into that just a little bit, so that because you might hear that term in different places. So I just want to kind of unpack that real briefly with you. So science of reading is basically this 50 years old that's been a compilation of research and data on how do kids read, what makes them successful readers, what what are some of the roadblocks that come into place, how do you fix those roadblocks, why does one kid learn better or easier to read than other kids, all this kind of data that's been out there. In 1997, the United States Congress put a panel together to study this and to start researching this data, and they put out recommendations. And in reading, in the elementary school in readings, of course, most people know there's pendulums that swing back and forth, and you should focus on this, and you should focus on this, and it goes over here, and it goes over here. But the science of reading is this big body of information that's saying, this is kind of the sequence of reading skills that kids go through. This is a progression that is normal for kids. These are, when kids are not doing this, this is a potential issue going on with this kid, and these are some ways to kind of help and fix that. So that's the nitty-gritty with it. If you want to read volumes of it, look it up. There's tons of it out there. It's kind of a catch thing now in elementary schools. It's becoming a kind of a fad, so to speak, in schools now. All right, Brian. So there are 5 pillars when you're addressing good literacy in the elementary school that are part of science reading: phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. So phonemic awareness is basically dealing with the sounds. And then phonics moves into those sounds are connected to letters. And then vocabulary is, the background vocabulary that you need to understand something. So for me, when I lived in Korea, I learned the Korean alphabet. I don't know it now, but I knew it then. Very easy to learn the Korean alphabet, very easy to read Korean after, a couple weeks of instruction. I could read lots of things, no clue what I was saying. No clue, no clue what I was reading. After I began to learn some vocabulary words, oh, that's what that is, when I saw it on the menu or saw it in different places. So that's kind of the idea with vocabulary. You can be a really solid reader, read it really well, but if you don't understand the vocabulary, you don't understand what you're reading. Fluency is the ability to read passages accurately and quickly and with the right expression. So this is important because if you are always sounding out each individual letter, each individual sound, your brain is never going to get to that comprehension level, which is the ultimate goal. So number 5 is comprehension, and that is understanding what you are reading. All right, Brian, one more on science of reading, and then we'll kick out of this. So we've used this diagram at the elementary school, and this is a diagram of a rope, and it's showing 2 strands of this rope that are being tied together. And when they're tied together, you get your skilled reader. On one side of this rope is language comprehension, that's the red. On the other side is word recognition. So on the one side, the top side, you're dealing with the vocabulary that I just talked about, background knowledge. If you're talking about volcanoes and things like this, you got to have some background knowledge. You got to have vocabulary before kids will understand a subject like that. And then it has a bunch of other things that go along with that. The bottom strand is talking about your phonics and your word recognition and your decoding and the kind of the skills part of going into reading. So one's background knowledge, one's skills. So that's one thing in our K-2 program, in our reading program, we have a skills and we have a knowledge. We have an hour dedicated for skills and an hour dedicated for knowledge, so that both sides of this rope are being kind of attacked and supported for our kiddos. All right, we're going to move on from science reading. Again, look it up. This is way too small. You can't see anything on it. That's okay. I just put it in there. This basically shows the different skills with everything from basic phonics all the way through to more prefixes, suffixes that kind of spans the grade spans. You see at the first, dots are all aligned. So the first units talk about, general classroom management, getting ready for school, these kind of beginning of the year kind of things. Then they start to separate them out. So a lot of foundational skills in the early grade. Then it moves on to writing, more involved writing, cursive writing, some of those things as you get into the older grade levels. So this is one that I like the most, and one of the things I love the most about this program is the incorporation of science and social studies. It is really awesome if you get a chance to come to the elementary schools, sit on a lesson. We've had some schools from 52 was there today, RSU13 was there last week, just sitting in, checking out the program for themselves. But this is probably my favorite part, are the science and social studies lessons. And they talk from everything from body systems to Native Americans to, there's a whole range from science and social studies topics that are incorporated into the reading. And that's what science and social studies is supposed to be. They are the engaging factors in school. And so it's really neat. I'll pick on Andrea Palmer, but going into her classroom and hearing first graders talk about body systems, really awesome. When I went into first grade last year, I had gone to Hawaii. There was a volcano exploding. So they said, hey, we're studying volcanoes, come in. So I thought I was going to teach them a lot of vocabulary and stuff. Nope, they already knew it all. They knew all the words. They were able to talk about it. And it's really cool when you're in any of the classrooms and you just hear the kids using elevated vocabulary, using vocabulary that is related to science and social studies. It's really an awesome experience. And then some of the topics like body systems and these things repeat, so they get it a little bit more in one grade than they get it in a couple years later. But what I'm excited about is these kids are going to carry science and social studies background knowledge and vocabulary with them to the middle school and high school that they never got before. Or they got in pieces, but it was never done in a real concentrated kind of way. So again, I can share this slide so you can look at some of these topics a little more, but there's a variety of subjects and the kids are in them. Like I was observing in a 5th grade classroom yesterday, and they were starting Shakespeare, and you're like, oh, 5th grade Shakespeare, that must be fun. That was a really cool lesson. They had some funny things that the teacher was having the students speak, and then they had to guess, is this person mad or are they happy when they're doing this? So it was a fun kind of acting thing that they were doing. But 5th graders had just come off from Renaissance, which is another topic they talk about, War of 1812, American Revolution. So there's a variety of awesome things in there. All right, moving on. Pros and cons. And I have a column over there called remedies, and this is the last one. So pros, both horizontal and vertical alignment. What I mean by that is across, so all my first grade teachers are teaching the same content, and then there's alignment as it goes up in the grade. Alignment for both the reading skills and the science and social studies content that's with it. Increased student vocabulary, I talked about that. Engaging science and social studies topics, I talked about that. Focus on background and knowledge and reading skills. When we look at that rope, that's what that's talking about. And incorporates writing into reading. So it starts really early with kindergarten drawing shapes. And these shapes are the foundation of letters. And it's not taking anything like all kids should know this, or we're starting here and we're moving forward to on into even cursive writing in some of the older grades. And then less preparation time for staff. This has been a huge thing. That doesn't mean that they don't prepare at all, but like I described before, they were spending hours trying to figure out, what do I need to do and what materials then do I need to get together? And then if that doesn't work, what's the next step? So now they get their stuff is all in one place. They review their lesson, they review the main points, they get any materials they need, and then they're ready to go. So that's been a huge benefit for the staff. Cons, one of the things, so this caused us to have to shift our philosophy a little bit. We do a lot more whole class instruction instead of small groups. That's one of the things that it's a struggle, especially in the younger grades. I think it's year 2, it's better than it was year 1, but I think there are ways that we still need to find how do we still get more of that small group brought back into this. Very time intensive, especially the first year. It was a bear. We came off COVID, introduced the new math program, and then the next year said, oh, and here's the new reading program, and it's pre-K to 5. Here we go. So very time intensive. And then trying to find the best opportunity to pull kids for intervention. That's a struggle. Like we're putting 2 hours a day for reading into the schedule, and then you have an hour of math and everything else that we do. Now, when do we pull these kids to give them extra help? So one of the big remedies, and it's kind of all tied together, Jason and I have been looking, trying to relook at some of the assessments that we do and trying to save time or use assessments that make more sense and go along with our reading program versus instructing in one hand and then having the assessment assess in something totally different. So we've been looking at a assessment suite called M-Class that might replace NWA in our lower grades. Just kind of scratching the surface with that right now. There's another program connected with our reading program called Boost. These are tools that would help the intervention piece a lot with our kids because it will line it up with the instruction that's going on in the classroom. And then as teachers become more familiar and efficient with the pace of teaching, I think we'll see more of those opportunities to kind of have some of that small group instruction. So we're in the middle of year 2. So I would say we are still very much in the implementation phase, but as I go across the classrooms and I'm looking in different rooms, the teachers have really put this in with a high level of fidelity. We are now having discussions about, okay, we've been reading about this. How does this work with this? Our kids need more instruction in this area. Where do we squeeze this in? And but overall, we've been trying to stick pretty close to the program so that it's implemented with a high level of fidelity. We had 3 days of training. Previously, we're looking at adding some more training, just kind of follow-up training. Okay, you're 2 years in now. You know, how do we take the next step with this? So that's in a very quick nutshell, our reading program. I know it's new. I know you might have heard something like Amplify. What is that? People like it, don't like it, but I wanted you guys to have a little information. And they probably are okay, but I would really like one of you to at least ask one of them a question because they sat here this whole thing. So if you got one, like that's, you know, just dig something up, you know, just that they feel like I'm gonna owe them to cover their duties for. Yeah, I know. They didn't see the agenda, and then when they saw how far down the agenda they, you know, like I said, I'm gonna be covering a few duties for them to make up for it. But oh, they'll come out. Yeah, they love the microphone.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
I have 3.
For me or for Andrea and Sarah?
Be for them or not. First of all, that you have the program. Are you doing supplements? That's one. And I have heard from, I don't know if it's kids here or other place, the kids say, especially the older ones, they're dropped into this. They're having a really rough time adapting. And my other thing, do we still do the special ed reading program?
So I'll do my best to answer those. So there's not really as far as there are some supplements that are done, but Amplify is so encompassing, and so that there's not really a lot of room for a lot of supplemental things in terms of the main classroom. Are there little things that teachers do that are, you know, they may bring in a video or something different on a topic? Yeah, sure. There's things like that, but it's pretty like detailed program. So there's not a lot of room for that. As far as the second thing, yep. So ideally, in an ideal world, you would start a program in K. Next year, K and 1 have it. Next year, and that's the ideal world. 100% that would probably have solved some of that. Yeah, we put it all down. Part of that was, you know, funding thing. We have the funding now. This is kind of where we're moving. So ideally, the implementation was not how you would normally want to see an implementation. And yeah, that caused like, holy smokes, you know, we just got something brand new on us, and the teachers are figuring it out, and we're kind of, especially for those older kids that maybe, you know, we'll have it for a year or two and then move on to the middle school. Hopefully the kids that are in K1 and 2, as they move through, that'll be resolved a little bit better, Barb. Special ed does do something different for interventions, same with Title I. There are some connections with Amplify with intervention. We haven't really got deep into that because special ed and Title I have kind of had their own thing anyways. So that's part of the conversation ongoing when we talk about the assessment suite. How do we align those 3 areas now with special ed, Title I, and the regular instruction? All right. Someone else has to have a question for them.
Well, I guess I'd be curious, just hearing you guys' experience thus far, like Charlie has outlined his pros, cons, and like, what are you guys seeing? You know, how has the transition been? What are you seeing? Pros, cons, excited to move forward?
Well, in first grade, we do two different strands. So we do skills in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we do knowledge. So hours are separated at the K2 level, where at the 3-5 level, they're all integrated. Our kids, I've noticed such a big equalizer as far as like vocabulary and being able to talk about experiences. I have kids that go out rock hunting with their parents and understand those things, and I have kids that have never had those experiences, and this kind of levels their playing field. We just went on a field trip to the Maine Mineral Museum, and the kids were so into it, and they were astonished by what our kids knew and how excited they were about the curriculum. Having my own child go through it, I know that just like the approach to decoding words and teaching them how to attack the words and the vocabulary has made a huge difference. And even second year in, I have kindergartners who haven't had anything different, and these kids are picking it up so fast. We had the schools come and visit, and they were astonished by what our students were doing.
So I teach third grade, which is a transition year from learning how to read to reading to learn. And so we have a lot of background knowledge building piece, and we go for about an hour and 45 minutes. It's pretty intensive, like Charlie said. And as Andrea said, they're able to have conversations about whether or not they want to be a plebeian or a patrician in the Roman society, or like they have evidence to back that up based on their reading. So it's really quite impressive to hear third graders talk about some of these things. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have two more questions.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay. Well, so I've had
You
kids
really
come up.
opened the box.
Well, no, I've had kids come up through the elementary school. And so a few years ago, it was like Jolly Phonics is the great thing, right? And like, how does this build on that? Like,
and so
how is it?
I think that's you.
Okay. Jolly Phonics and Amplify aren't that different as far as the skills portion, because part of it is the phonemic awareness and the phonics piece. And we explicitly teach all the sounds and how they go together. And we spend so much time learning how to blend words and the rules of why sounds make certain sounds at certain times. So the program looks a little bit different because Jolly Phonics was a phonics program and a grammar program. So it only dealt with part of the reading rope, where Amplify puts it together. I still, like we talked about supplementing, Jolly Phonics has a really good blending page where I put that up and the kids blend. It's not anything different that they're doing in Amplify, it's just extra practice. So those things don't necessarily go away. We just use them differently for things that we need. But Amplify does a really good job hitting all of the same things.
So Natalie, just part of that, we purchased Jolly Phonics because we recognized that we had, when I was talking about, we had gaps in our foundational knowledge, we recognized like part of that is the phonics instruction is not where it should be. And so we purchased Jolly Phonics as kind of an attack to that problem. And then we knew that we were looking for the bigger picture, which is the comprehensive reading program. And like Andrea said, they're pretty similar in how they approach it, little different, some of the motions, some fewer motions, things like that they do, but along the same philosophy as Jolly Phonics.
And then I think from the third grade perspective, we focus more on the vocabulary strand of that reading rope, where we're doing prefixes, suffixes to gain meaning of words that might be unfamiliar to them. Like today we did less and full, so careless, careful, and we just talked about the meaning of what that would do to words. So it kind of builds on on those foundations.
Right, as we look at more whole class instruction and maybe haven't had as much opportunity for small group instruction, we still are having intervention for students that are identified as needing that extra support. How are we pushing the kids on the other side? Like if it's if it's larger groups, how are we keeping everyone engaged and challenged?
I think that the Amplified program is so intense in itself that it's easy to push them a little bit further with that.
Yep. Okay.
And it does in the program have places where you can extend learning. It gives you things right there. Like if your kids are ready for this, you can add this knowledge or you can add this piece. There's also a part that goes home, at least at our level, with almost every lesson saying, this is what we're working on. This is how you can do it at home. And even with the knowledge things, there's a whole sheet saying, this is what we're learning about. These are ways you can help your child extend to really try to build that parent-school connection so the school can help the kids and also the parents can get involved and help extend that also.
Those are all my questions.
Anybody else? I think we're good. Go home. I feel bad.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you're done? Committee reports, we've already had the student policy committee. We haven't set a date. Brian needs to give me some policies that need revision, the computers. Finance committee, have not met. Curriculum, I think you explained. Yep. Buildings and grounds. Okay. Negotiation, we're meeting tomorrow at 5:30. Personnel.
Are they doing food? Is anyone doing food for tomorrow? Do we need to do food?
We haven't met
So we don't
about
need to
food.
worry about
Yeah,
it.
we don't-
So personnel, we brought forward the 4 job descriptions. Did we set a date?
I can't
I
remember.
think we talked about it, but we didn't actually set a date. So we will be setting a meeting date probably for sometime in April, and we will report out when we get
Oh.
that set.
And something, there's a couple policies about hiring. The
Yep.
personnel needs to review to give some recommendations of which the procedure they want to do, and then it will go to policy. Ad hoc, Larry? Okay. 5 o'clock, buildings and grounds, it was 1 o'clock. We already had an executive session. So, I love the, I know.
So moved.
So moved, and a second. Roll call. In favor? Thank you, good night.